Hello and welcome to Movies I Watched This Week. So glad to have you. I really loved the setup of last week's video of me being in bed, and I hung up some pictures, which you can't actually see all of them, but you can see two of them. And so now we have a really cozy setup going. I wish I had like more things on my wall, but I'm liking this minimalism. I also have a microphone. It is a Sing Along Pro. Not a sponsorship, obviously. I got this for Christmas because I love to just sing all hours of the day. And my sister got it for me, and it has lots of different voice settings, so I can be super low or super high and fulfill my dreams of being a tenor on Broadway. So this is our new setup. Get with it or get out, and let's just get right into the video. I only watched 4 movies. Have a drink and get comfortable. I have a Coke Zero, and let's get into the video. Chin chin. So last week we left off with the last movie I watched being Mickey 17, and shortly after that I finally watched A Woman Under the Influence. This has been on my watch list, TBR. I don't really know what you call that. I'm assuming it's watch list. This is actually the first Cassavetes film that I've ever seen. And the reason I finally ripped the Band-Aid off and watched it was because I was listening to the A24 podcast with Chloe East and Sophie Thatcher, where they specifically talked about filming Heretic and their Mormon upbringing. And Chloe East talks about going to a screening with her Mormon friends to see the film. And in that, they talk about Women Under the Influence, and they talk about their inspirations and their favorite directors. And they were both so well-spoken and interesting. And when I listen to these podcasts, I always am like, do I have a very like amateur perspective on film? Like, I just really love a very specific type of B movies. Like, you could go on Tubi and find my favorite genre. Like, I love American Mary. I love Jennifer's Body. I loved that movie May from like 2 weeks ago. I just love independent, low budget comedy coming of age horror movies. Like, that's my favorite thing ever. And if I had to pick, like, as of today, a favorite director I want to work with, honestly, it's Kevin Smith. Like, I binged all his movies, and I just love Jay and Silent Bob, and that's what I'm feeling in this moment. Like, that would be my dream. But also, I have dreams of working with, like, all of the amazing people that we see on mainstream every day. But I don't know. I just feel like, do I have, like, toddler humor? Woman Under the Influence. I want to start by saying the obvious. I rated this film 5 stars. I had no idea what it was about. And I've never in my life seen a performance that like made me question everything in my life. I literally was watching this and I was like, how is someone that, like, how is she doing that? Like, it was the greatest performance I'd ever seen in my life. And it makes total sense because Gina Rowlands is in The Notebook. She plays the older version of Allie, who just makes my heart throb and break. And I literally, you could teach acting classes with this movie and this movie alone. It was so amazing. And it was so emotional. And it was so evocative. I have so many questions. And I want to get right into my main question, which was what it would have been like to go see this in theaters in 1974 when it came out. Because now I was watching this, you know, in 2025, thinking of like how absurd it is that your wife has mental health issues and you just send her away for 6 months. But I would really like to understand the psychology behind the way of the world back then and how that was just like, okay, yeah, let's do that. And then he would like hit her and they would just be in the kitchen having a kiki after, like everything was fine. It was so really evocative is the word I have, because I just have so many questions about it. Longetti, desperate and lonely, is married to Los Angeles municipal construction worker Nick. Increasingly unstable, especially in the company of others, she craves happiness, but her extremely volatile behavior convinces Nick that she poses a danger to their family and decides to commit her to an institution for 6 months. Alone with a trio of kids to raise on his own, he awaits a return which holds more than a few surprises. So, the first act of the film, we're introduced to Mabel. Mabel obviously has something up, At first though, like, I didn't pick up on it. I will say, I just thought she was like a little fun and spunky. And then I was like, oh, she definitely is struggling here with mental illness. And so what's so great about this film, what's so beautiful about the way that it's shot and the cinematography is like how long the scenes are. Because if you go chronologically how many like scenes are in this movie in terms of like a shot list or something, there really aren't that many. Like, there's such these long vulnerable moments where we're able to fully understand and nitpick at Mabel's mental illness. Like, did I miss it? They never said what it was. It was just this, she's kind of a little crazy and manic sometimes. And yeah, volatile behavior is the perfect way to describe it. And so the first act, we're introduced to that. And then the second act, once she's sent away, is very brief, and it's of Nick trying to parent the kids. And he's obviously struggling because, you know, he's not as domesticated as women were at the time, where they were like in the house to watch the kids, to cook and to clean. He goes to work every day. And so he was struggling, obviously. And you can tell that he's just waiting for Mabel to come back. And then the third act of the film, Mabel finally does come back. And it's very clear that they are a well-loved family. They're well-liked. They have a huge community that comes to support Mabel when she returns home. And so it just goes to show, like, how everybody's kind of just like, oh, okay, not our business. Like, he's going to send her away. Nobody stepped in, really, and was like, this is wrong. They all just kind of like, yeah. And then when she returned, they all showed up for the party. And we're all like, oh, there's no food and bev. Guys, BYOB, okay? Mabel's coming home from an institution, and you're worried about snacks. They electric shock therapied her. I don't know what the actual word is. I know it's not electric shock therapied her, but that's what they did. Very interesting to watch and try and, like I said, understand that psychology of like, we're just going to send you away because we don't really know how to deal with this. But now if you think about it with a more generalized acceptance of therapy and mental illness, it's still not nearly where it should be. It's also not accessible. Therapy's not accessible to everybody. Like, it's not cheap. Healthcare is not accessible to everybody, especially in the United States. So thinking about women specifically getting that kind of help, I mean, think of how much lower of a rate women go with undiagnosed autism and ADHD because of the ways we view men and women and how they behave in a classroom or how they behave in an upbringing. So it was just all really interesting. And my favorite part of the film was when Mabel, it's right before they're about to take her away, and she's kind of going really crazy. And Nick claps and all of the sound goes away. It's like very muffled, heightened, like climax, like, oh, everything's about to happen. And then he claps and it like, that was my favorite part in the film. I thought it was incredible. I thought it was so clever, but also it really like personified what was going on in her mind and how Nick was the only person who was able to bring her back down. And I think they both understood that but didn't acknowledge it. Like, it just happened. There was never a, I can help you, or like, you're the only person that understands. It was a silent thing. And I thought that was very beautiful. So, A Woman Under the Influence, 5 stars on Max, John Cassavetes. The next movie I watched, which I absolutely loved, was Novocaine, directed by Dan Burke and Robert Olson. This is in theaters currently, and I implore you, I embolden you, Galinda, go to the movie theater and go see this. Because, okay, wait, unless you're squeamish and you don't like blood and guts, if you get really queasy, don't go see this. Because I was covering my eyes and like gagging at some points because it's just so good and gross and gory. And on Substack today, my favorite Substacker and TikToker Tepper was talking about how this past weekend was the lowest box office weekend in so long for theatrical releases. And I was like, that's so interesting to me. Obviously, I'm biased because I go to the movies regardless, like at least once a week. I'm gonna see something. The average American goes to the movies once or twice a year. Like, they probably went and saw Wicked and Deadpool, okay? Which there's nothing wrong with that. I did not see Deadpool. So it's just so interesting to me because I went to go see this movie, one, because I thought the trailer and the concept of the film was just so good. And the other reason was because I loved the marketing campaign, specifically Jack Quaid at the Clippers game. I have no idea what game it was. And throughout the game, he got progressively more beat up. Okay, basically the plot of the movie is Jack Quaid plays Nathan Kane, nickname Novocaine. Why? He can't feel pain. And when the girl of his dreams gets kidnapped, he goes on a high-speed chase to get her back. However, this movie is so much more than that logline. It is such a wild ride. Not only is it gory and gross and graphic, it's hilarious, it's fun, and it keeps you on your toes. Because one thing about an action thriller is that they kind of all follow a very similar structure. And the first part, I'm going to use Carry On as an example. The first act, or the inciting incident, like the very beginning of the film, gives you it tells you that our main character is a bit of a loser. And not in a negative way, it's just like they kind of just skate through life. Like, they're not really motivated by anything. They're just there. And that's what we see in Carry On with Taron Egerton. Because he's just working in TSA. He wants to be a cop, but, like, he didn't care enough to keep working. And he wants a promotion, but it's like, you kind of feel bad for him. You're like, this guy's kind of a bum. And that's kind of how all of these movies start. And with Nathan Kane, at first you're like, oh, he can't feel pain. Like, so he's just going to play life super safe and not take any risks because his condition could cause him to die prematurely. Like, it's actually a miracle that he's even alive at this age. He's 25. So you think that the movie is going to be like, oh, he gets the girl, he saves the day. And no, obviously that happens. Everything that happens from that, the girl getting kidnapped, to the end is magic. It's absolutely incredible. I rated this movie 4 stars. I thought it was so fun. And you know what was the most fun part for me? Ray Nicholson. I'm not going to talk anymore about the plot of the movie because I genuinely want you to see it in theaters. And if you don't, I'm writing a review about it that's going to be in the magazine. So just wait till the end of the month. It'll be out on a Monday. Okay? Review of both Novocaine and my experience at the AMC movie theater, because that was life-changing. The real treat of this movie, other than Jack Quaid being so charming and Amber Midthunder being hilarious and just so talented, I loved her. She played Shelley, the love interest. Ray Nicholson was in this film, okay? And in the trailer, if you watch it, a bunch of Santas rob a bank, and one of those Santas takes his mask down, and it's Ray Nicholson, and I immediately knew it was Ray Nicholson because, oh my god, he's so gorgeous. And I turned to my friend Alyssa, because we went to the movies together, and I go, she was sitting on this side. I go, oh my god, that's Jack Nicholson's son. And she goes, who's Jack Nicholson? Who are you? Well, huh? Okay, so Ray Nicholson is just absolutely gorgeous. Like, let's call a spade a spade. He's hot. He's hot. And so you know what I did? I went on his IMDb Pro and I was like, what am I going to watch of him when I get home now? Because I got to see something else. He has the most beautiful smile. Obviously, Jack Nicholson couldn't deny that is his son on anything. I still haven't seen Smile 2 because I'm kind of like, what is Smile about? I have no idea what Smile is about. I've never seen it. Anyway, so I just fell in love with Ray Nicholson in this movie because he's gorgeous. But he's also so charming, very similar to Jack Quaid. And they were such powerhouses together in their scenes. Like, I loved it. And so, Novocaine, absolutely fabulous, but we have to continue this Ray Nicholson story because it's the next movie I watched. So because of Ray Nicholson, I decided that I was going to watch the 2022 film directed by Neil LaBute. LaBute? I don't know. Sorry. And it's on Tubi, Out of the Blue. Okay? I rated this movie 1 star. And the 1 star was for Ray Nicholson. Like I always say, I will be the first to tell you if I watched a movie just because a hot guy was in it. I watched this just because a hot guy was in it. So, Out of the Blue, only one thing stood in their way: her husband. After spending time in prison following an assault charge, Connor Bates now works in a library and spends his free time running, swimming, and trying to piece back together his world. When he meets Marilyn Chambers, a wife of a wealthy businessman, they collide into an intense physical and emotional relationship that quickly escalates into idle talk about her husband's murder. I'm going to break this down for you as fast as possible. The movie starts, he goes on a run. And he runs to this bay of water. It's a very small beach. Like, it literally looks like not a place you would want to swim, but for some reason I wanted to swim in there. Runs up and she's standing in the water. This mirage of a woman comes out of the blue. There we have the title. This woman literally spawned out of the blue and they have a torrid love affair. He's a librarian. Okay? He's a librarian. So he's like the hottest male love interest ever because he works in a library. My dream. And so she comes and visits him in the library and she's like, I want a book where the wife kills the husband. And he's like, ma'am, that's every murder mystery. Like, huh? And right there and then you're like, wait a minute, something's fishy. So I picked up on this in the very beginning that she was going to manipulate him. Spoiler, she was going to manipulate him into murdering her husband so that she could get away with it, because throughout the film it's very clear that this man has a criminal history. You find out that he pushed somebody and like assaulted somebody. I don't even remember, it was so silly, but he went to jail for a little bit, and that's why he has to work at the library, because nobody else would hire him, because of course they live in a tiny town where everybody knows everybody's business. So this woman, Diane Kruger, who I know from something but I can't think of it, plays Marilyn. Marilyn has a young daughter, Chase Sue Wonders, from Bodies, Bodies, Bodies. And, okay, ready? We're going to break this down. Only 7 characters in the movie, and they're all entangled. We have Marilyn, we have Connor Bates, Ray Nicholson, we have Marilyn's stepdaughter Astrid, we have Astrid's boyfriend Jared, and we have Marilyn's husband. Then we have the librarian bestie of Connor, Ray Nicholson, Kim, and we have Connor's uncle, head of law enforcement. Doc is the uncle, whatever. Marilyn and Connor have a torrid love affair, and it's super spicy, and they hook up in the library, and then they hook up in the woods, and basically she's telling him that her husband is abusive. She has bruises, but like you never really see them. They're kind of really faint. And I've read The Housemaid, so I immediately clocked this as she's going to make it seem like her husband is abusing her because her husband is super wealthy, and then she's going to get Connor to kill him, and she is going to take all the money and not be with Connor, obviously. So that's what Marilyn does. So Connor, after all of this happens, they plot the murder, whatever. He shows up to go and kill the husband. Just like agrees to do that, even though he has a criminal history. Okay. He goes and kills the husband. When he goes to do that, Jared shows up. Astrid's boyfriend, Jared, shows up. And so, obviously, what does Connor do? Kill him. So it looks like they killed each other. And I'm like, no. This is the biggest setup in the world. So then he goes home, and the cops show up, and his uncle is there, and he's like, put your hands on your head and get on your knees. You're going to jail. We have evidence. And he's like, evidence of what, bro? And his uncle's like, your nickel keychain with a Native American on it that your dad gave you was at the house. And he's like, that's not possible because he lost it when they were having sex in the woods. And then you're like, oh yeah, she set you up. Duh, child's play. So he gets arrested, obviously, and the movie ends with the stepmom and Astrid on a yacht sailing away together, Marilyn and Astrid, and they're in love, and they start making out. Because the whole thing was a plot for them to take the dad's money so they could be together. And I love Girl Boss Queen. Maybe I should have rated it 2 stars, but I rated it 1. Out of the Blue on Tubi, 1 star. However, Ray Nicholson, this led me to watching Panic on Amazon Prime, which was canceled after 1 season, but that 1 season is amazing and you should watch it because Ray plays a guy named Ray. And if you thought he was hot and out of the blue or Novocaine, you should watch Panic. He's 10 years my senior. I don't care. Last and final movie I watched that I'm not going to talk much about because I did write a review on it is The Last Showgirl. I rented this on Prime and my mommy and I watched it together. 2024, directed by Gia Coppola. 4.5 stars. I loved this movie. I mean, it would be like beating a dead horse to talk about how beautiful the visuals are, the cinematography, the use of pink and blue, the lighting design, shot on film, the production design, the costume design, the hair and makeup. I mean, they're showgirls. It's all very intricate. It's all very beautiful. And I give very specific character reviews in my blog post, so I'm also not going to get too much into that. I just kind of want to talk about something that I left out of my blog post, actually, which was the parallels between The Last Showgirl, Shelley, played by Pamela Anderson, and Pamela Anderson's real life, and the way that both this film and The Substance were so highly praised, and yet we really aren't going to take many lessons from it, I fear. This is what I mean. The Last Showgirl follows Shelley, played by Pamela Anderson, who is the longest performer in La Razzle Dazzle, which is a show on Vegas that is the last traditional showgirl show on the Strip. Okay, they're replacing everything in the casinos with these circus shows and all these other like attraction things, and there's not really any more of those big feather boa shows anymore. Okay, so we find this out when all of the girls and Batista, who plays Eddie, are having dinner together. And it's very sad because it's clear that Shelley, this is her life. She's been in it since the start. She gave up her family to do this. And now it's being taken away from her. And what else is she going to do? Because she's 57 years old. And the people on the Strip hiring for other dance performances, they don't want a 57-year-old woman. So what I found so interesting about this film, and specifically about Jamie Lee Curtis and Pamela Anderson. Jamie Lee Curtis I saw in public one time, okay? And I have a video of her and I sobbed hysterically. And then I'll get how that translates to The Substance. But what I find so interesting is that Jamie Lee Curtis has had such a long, consistent, successful career. I can think of so many different things and like parts of my life where Jamie Lee Curtis was there. She's just had such a long career, and I feel like nobody's ever said that she was past her prime. I feel like I've never heard those words ever about Jamie Lee Curtis because that just doesn't exist. Like, Jamie Lee Curtis is a timeless actress. The Bear. Like, Jamie Lee Curtis is a timeless actress, in my opinion. And Pamela Anderson, obviously so many people, especially in our generation, are familiar with her not only because of her iconic hair and makeup, but the TV shows and the extortion of her sex tape. Now we're finally getting out of that. Now it's finally like Pamela Anderson she's just so iconic, not only for her fashion and her hair and her makeup and her legacy, but like now she doesn't wear makeup on the red carpets. And I really think she's talented, and I believe that what this film does so well in comparison to her real life, she said herself, like, at first Gia Coppola sent the script to her agent, and the agent was like, no, and gave it back. And then her son was the reason that she was in the film, Brandon Thomas. I know because I had a celebrity crush on him a while ago. They don't go away, they just like rotate to who's first. Anyway, I just thought it was so interesting. We're watching this film about a woman who is coming to the end of her career, even though she's only 57. That's really not old. Like, let's be for real. 57 is not old. And your career is stopped because we can't see women past a certain age. It's just not allowed. We can watch men until they're rotting in their grave, but women, no. Like, undesirable after a certain age. That's why you see 30-year-olds playing 16-year-olds. So I just thought it was really interesting to see the progression of Pamela Anderson's career in my lifetime, and like thinking about the Pam and Tommy show, and then thinking about Baywatch, and thinking about now her finally being cast in The Last Showgirl. I also watched her documentary. So to see her getting back into acting and it being such an amazing performance. And my mom and I both were like, she's so talented in this. But people can't look past one thing that happened, and they just have to sexualize these women, so then they lose out on opportunities for continuing their career because they're no longer seen as desirable and perfect and pure. And how this goes into the substance is something I also think about, the plot of the substance, and, you know, self-deprecation and just body dysmorphia and like hating yourself and what that does to you and your mentality, and constantly being like, oh, I wish I looked like this, or I wish I was younger, I wish I was thinner, I wish I had bigger, perkier boobs, like I'm aging and I'm no longer desirable, because that's what happens to Elizabeth Sparkle. I think just now more than ever, we're actually finally seeing stories about quote unquote older women. They are only older white women. They're not even old. They're like middle-aged, but I don't even want to say that because I think people think that's a negative and it's not. They're like in the autumn, in the spring autumn of their life, you know? And we're finally seeing those kinds of stories because there's so many stories about middle-aged men. I mean, James Bond, hello? Like, when are you seeing 50-year-old women leading a movie and it's not about, you know, divorce or their husband? It's actually about themselves and self-discovery and sacrifices and things that they've had to do. So I'm really interested in that. Obviously, I would like to see different women's stories, but I think this is a really great start and I'm really excited about it because it is hard to think about. I mean, Woman Under the Influence is, but it's also so much told by the perspective and like eyes of her husband. I mean, the whole second act is about the husband having to take care of the house because he had to send the wife away, but you didn't have to send the wife away. So that's that. The Last Showgirl is available on Prime to rent. I gave it 4.5 stars and I absolutely loved it. And Miley Cyrus's song was beautiful that way. Well, that's not how it goes, but it did make me cry. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you're wondering why this is a poorly lit outro, it's because it took me like 7 tries to just say the outro, so I'm doing it separately. Thank you so much for watching. Like and subscribe if you feel like it, or don't. You know the drill. You can read my blog every Monday on Substack and my website, dryginmartini.com. We call it Martini Monday over here. It's like a special thing. I post these videos whenever I feel like it, so I have no idea what day this is going up. But I appreciate you watching, and if you made it this far, genuinely thank you. That being said, at the end of the month, I will be publishing the first edition of the Dry Gin Martini magazine, Shaken and Stirred, where there is a full review of Novocaine. So stay tuned for that. I'm very excited about it. If you would read it, it would make my heart happy. It'd probably grow 10 times bigger. It's already pretty big. So till next time, stay flirty, stay thirsty, and stay watching movies. Watch more movies together. Make more movies together. You see, in the future, one day, like, it's going to catch on and, like, we're going to say it together. We're going to say it at the same time. Okay? So, I'm going to tell you my flavor of the week also at the end of this video. And my current flavor of the week is McGee. Okay? I listened to his music for 6 hours straight today in the car. So, my flavor of the week is McGee. Actually, it was Ray Nicholson and McGee in tandem. Anyway, chin chin.